Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. Are you a goofball that loves Giants football? If so, sit back and relax as we talk about the team that both excites and frustrates us so much. And now, here are your goofball hosts, Drew and Rob.
Welcome, fellow goofballs, to Two Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. I am Drew, soon to be joined by Rob, who's stuck in traffic on his way home from work. Ooh, traffic. We've all been there. But yeah, we got a lot of news to go over with you guys today. This is one of the fun episodes every year. This is the first day of NFL free agency, guys. Rumors are floating around left and right. Signings are happening left and right. And it's just, you never know what's real, what's not. But we're starting to find out, because now the signings are starting to happen here. So we got one re-signing. That's a big one, I think, here today. We got two people signed to the roster. And the NFL's, quarterback moves left and right here today. I don't think I've ever seen so many quarterbacks moving around as you've seen today. And the Giants, guess what, guys? Still don't have one. We still don't have a quarterback, unless you want to count Tommy DeVito, but I don't think anybody really wants to count him. So we're going to go over the latest rumors of what's going on there in the quarterback world there in the NFL and see what things might lie and see what's kind of going for the Giants here. So let's start her up with the big re-signing there. Darius Slayton back with the Giants. And it looked like, just a couple of days ago, that probably wasn't going to happen. There was all kinds of rumors that Slayton wanted to sign on with a contender. He wanted a chance to win for the first time in his career. Let's be honest. He's been on the Giants, hasn't had much chance to win. But apparently that went away, because today he signed a 3-year, $36 million deal. And I know a lot of people are already ripping on this, because $12 million, who else wanted $12 million? Oh, yeah, Saquon Barkley. So that's been like the shot there. You hear in Giants Twitter and all the Giant fans right now talking about that. Why would you give it to him and not give it to Saquon Barkley? Saquon Barkley is a better player overall. Well, it's because that's the positional value. It's a very simple answer there. Like it or not, wide receivers get paid more than running backs do. $12 million would be a top-end contract, obviously, for a running back. But for a wide receiver, it's like a third wide receiver nowadays. You get wide receivers making $30 million a year. And Slayton's nowhere near worth that, obviously, but he's worth the $12 million a year based on what other receivers are getting. That's the important caveat to that. Is he worth $12 million a year overall? Probably not. Receivers are inflated right now. That's more of the more expensive positions. Based on what people are getting paid, he's worth it. And it's interesting because he's coming off of literally his worst season overall. 39 catches, 573 yards, 2 touchdowns. But guys, look what he had to work with last year. Look what he had. Daniel Jones, Drew Lock, Tommy DeVito. Can you sit there and really say that we gave him a chance to shine? We couldn't get the ball downfield. What is Slayton's best asset? His speed and getting open deep down the field. Now, you could knock his hands. He's had some issues with some drops, obviously, over his career. But I love the fact that Slayton is staying with the New York Giants, guys. I really do. Like, I've said it before in the show, and I will say it again. I think that he is one of the most underrated Giants players of all time. Definitely the most current. We did this last year. We talked about him. But let's do this again. Right now, Darius Slayton is sitting 18th overall, guys. 18th in Giants history. 100 years of most receiving yards in Giants history. He's at 37.68. Now, most seasons he's getting about 700 yards. That's, a decent season, I think, for most people. If he was to do 700 yards, that would put him ahead of guys like Lionel Manuel, Sterling Shepard, Jeremy Shockey, Aaron Thomas, Bob Tucker. It would put him just shy of Victor Cruz in just one more year, guys. 2 more years. So he gets about 1,400 yards there, hypothetically. Okay. I'm going to do a little math here. It puts him about 5,400 yards. That puts him top 5, guys, in Giants history, with just 2 more seasons doing what he's already been doing. And I do think that this is a good move because he pairs well with Malik Neighbors. He does the complete opposite of what everybody else does on the field, not just even Neighbors, but also Wan'Dale Robinson. Who is our deep threat guys without him? Jalen Hyatt? Jalen Hyatt couldn't catch a cold. That man could not run around if his life depended on it. And I hate to say it that way. We all had some high hopes for him. We want to root for everybody who is a Giant, obviously. That's just par for the course of being a fan. Rob and I called it out when this first happened. We first went ahead and drafted him. We said, Jalen Hyatt is a one-trick pony. It's a good trick, but it's one trick. That's the exact thing we said when we signed him. Well, that's proven to be true. He's a deep threat who can't run NFL routes, can't get off press coverage, and can't get open. Slayton can get open. Does he have the occasional issue with drops? Yes. But let's be honest, guys. If Slayton didn't have the drops issues, he'd be an 900-yard guy, not a 700-yard guy. Maybe 800. Maybe I'm over embellishing. Let's say 800 yards. How many receivers do you know do 700 or 800 yards a season, though? On a consistent basis. Obviously, the stars. You're putting in the big names you can give me. There's a value. There's not a lot of guys who are that B tier kind of receiver that does what Slayton does. And my biggest thing why I'm so glad we're getting Slayton back again with the Giants, like him or not, Slayton's the leader. Look at all the players we've had leave. Xavier McKinney, we've had Julian Love leave, Leonard Williams leave. All these guys who were big time leaders in this locker room, gone. Saquon Barkley on offense, big time leader, gone. Daniel Jones, again, love him or hate him, and I know a lot of us hate him because it's not his fault, but it's because he's left as the quarterback for too long. Was a big time leader in that locker room. We're losing leaders at a huge pace. Huge pace. Darius Slayton is the leader. And I'm very, very glad to see that he's getting the chance here to continue with the Giants. Take his place as, like I said, at the very least, probably the next year or two, a top 10, if not a top 5 Giants receiver as far as reception yards. That's a big deal. It's a big franchise move at that point. We're not the team that doesn't have any decent receivers over the years, guys. Have we had a ton? No, I'm not going to say that. 100 years, though, we've had some decent guys. And like I said, I'm very, very glad to see Slayton stick around. I think he's a good mentor for Neighbors as well. Neighbors actually has mentioned that. And I don't think he gets enough credit for that. Neighbors has mentioned point blank how him and Darius Slayton talk, go over routes, discuss coverages, watch film together. Darius Slayton has turned into that guy in that receiving room. And you need that. So glad to see him stick around. And I'm glad to see that we didn't, trade him like a lot of people wanted. It's like I said, it's a good move. Is it earth changing? Is it life changing? Is it franchise saving? No. But not everything has to be. Sometimes it's just solid moves. And that's what this is. It's just a solid move, guys. So Anthony says, bye-bye Hyatt. And yeah, I'm not so sure if it's bye-bye Hyatt or not, but I think Hyatt at least gets to go through camp. But guys, I don't know about y'all, but I'm ready to give up on Hyatt personally. I am done. He's had 2 years. He hasn't even gotten a single touchdown yet. Hasn't shown any growth whatsoever. He regressed, if anything, in year 2. Maybe you give it to him, like I said, you give it to him this training camp and see if he does a little better. Depending on who we get a quarterback, obviously that's a big deciding factor, and maybe helping him. But yeah, Anthony says also Slayton's worst year because he had to share the field with Neighbors as well, which is a very valid point. For most of his career, if not all of it, really, Slayton has been the number 1 receiver on the Giants because they just haven't had another receiver. Just flat out haven't. Look at all the catches Wan'Dale Robinson got last year as well. I've said it before. I'll say it again. Wan'Dale Robinson is probably a 100 catch guy. The offense kind of killed his yardage overall because, couldn't get him into a good spot. But, I think to get a guy for $12 million a year who's your wide receiver 3, which is where Slayton is now, not a bad move at all. Not a bad move at all. So, no names is I can't believe Darnold. Oh, we'll talk about Darnold a little bit there. Let's see here. Pale Riders, I find it difficult to be excited about anything this team does. Yeah. Until you get some wins, I don't blame you. I really don't. Without the wins, it's all pointless there. Absolutely pointless. You need the wins. But I think Slayton is a good move overall for us. And I'm trying to look at more like the good move, bad move kind of thing. Because it's a guy we need to keep. So let's see what happens with Ojulari still. But at least we got Slayton sticking around here. So, all right. Let's get into the big signing of the day here, guys. Let's get into what may be one of the biggest signings we get all offseason, depending on how things pan out here. And that's Paulson Adebo, quarterback formerly of the New Orleans Saints. And listen, we said this all along. Rob and I have been very consistent saying that point blank, we had to get a corner this offseason. One of the bigger name corners at that point, a guy who can legitimately be a cornerback 1 for us if things continue to not pan out for Deonte Banks. And like I said, I'm not counting on Banks at this point to ever turn into a CB1. Could he? Of course he could. But I don't want to count on it. Rob and I both thought he was more of a second-round selection kind of talent. We took him, obviously, in the latter part of the first round. We traded up for him. He had his issues, obviously, with big-name receivers in year 1. Had pretty much a horrendous year 2. So, Adebo, 6'1", 194 pounds, 25 years old. Played at Stanford with Bobby Okereke, by the way, guys. So, you have someone on the team, point blank, that played with him that can go ahead and give a good assessment of him overall. Which is, I think, a big plus category kind of thing because they know what they're getting. Assuming they trust Okereke to tell the truth. Because we all work with that guy that doesn't want to say the negative about anybody they work with. But assuming he's telling the truth, it's a good move. The biggest issue, and I'm already seeing some of you all in the comments with it, is the injury last year. Only played 7 games last year, guys. And this was a chance for him to shine potentially as they finally, got rid of Lattimore last year. But only 7 games on the season and, honestly, kind of a disappointing season overall. His numbers were down. He, definitely didn't show what you want in a free agency year. But they said he'd be making a pretty strong comeback there. As a pretty scary leg injury he had versus the Broncos. Got literally carted off the field. He's been showing videos, I know, on social media about him like literally doing cartwheels and stuff like that. Obviously, leg injuries, jumping around, flipping, doing all kinds of things on that. It says probably got some healing done there at that point. But the big thing, and the big reason why I think he's a Giant, guys, point blank, the biggest reason why I think he's a Giant is because of interceptions. The guy has shown abilities to be a ball hawk. He's a very aggressive corner, and this is something the Giants haven't had in many years now. Last year, again, just 7 games, had 3 interceptions, 52 tackles as well in those 7 games. In the last 2 seasons, he's had 7 interceptions in 22 games. So that's, you think about it, regular season on that, what he's done the last 2 years. If you played a full season, 5-6 interceptions. That pretty much doubles our total last year, I think. Like that's a really good interception number. Now, his coverage last year, though, his coverage grade, at least through PFF, take that for what it is. And there's people that love PFF, and there's people that hate PFF. There, 63.9 coverage grade, not the best, and he's done much better previous years as well. So, I'm looking at part of that as a small sample size. You play a couple of games, the best games. Next thing you know, if you want to play 7 games, yeah, the number's going to drop there. He's played 52 games overall in his career, 51 of them starts in 5 seasons with the Saints. And like I said, he's typically a much better coverage guy than he was last year. He does have the tendency to be overly aggressive. Got some bad penalties called against him. That's definitely been an issue. He also struggled against the run last season. So, that's one thing I want to see improve with the Giants, that's for sure, because I think part of the issues we had last year was some of the outside corners not being the best in stopping the run, which I know is a weird thing to talk about corners and stopping the run, but it is part of it. You do have to go ahead and be that last line of defense and outside runs sometimes. But much of his career, he's really been a solid number 2 for them. Marshawn Lattimore obviously has been the number 1. Lattimore got traded over to the Commanders. Now they've lost him, so they lost both their corners there down in New Orleans there. But this could be a really good pickup, really could. At worst, he's going to be a solid starting corner for this team that's being overpaid. We'll get to the money part in a minute because there's been a couple of weird reports going on money-wise and, where things are at there. But, you look at what's going on, and it's a move that I really think helps the Giants in the short term at the very least. And like I said, this guy has the potential to be a number 1 corner for us, guys. He really does have the potential to be a number 1 corner. And that's something that I don't think we've really had in quite a while now. At least it feels like quite a while. Like you had a Dory Jackson. He was kind of for a little while there, it looked like he was going to be a top corner. I think the injuries kind of caught up to him and he lost some of the speed and that kind of hurt him there. But, Deonte Banks was never going to be a number 1 corner last year. Sorry, no offense to him, but he just wasn't. We have a guy now that legitimately could be. He also, like I said, could be just a solid starting corner, and there's no harm in that either. So you got to kind of see which one you got there. As we got Rob in the house there, finally beating the traffic.
Hey, it's me, Rob, on the mobile show apparently.
So here's the skinny on the numbers for you guys. So the deal was initially reported to be 3 years, $30 million. Now, when I heard that, I was like, that's a good deal. That's a damn good deal. That seems to be incorrect, though. Jordan Raanan of ESPN was reporting it to be about $18 million annually. Nick Underhill is reporting 3 years, $54 million, which has been since confirmed. And NFL Network insider Mike Garafalo has confirmed that the first 2 years, totaling $36 million, are completely guaranteed. So you got a 3-year deal with an out basically after 2 years. That's not bad. Like I said, I'm okay with this because not every move has to be without any kind of, concern or worries there. And you definitely have them. If you're paying a guy $18 million a year, which let's be very clear is number 1 corner money. Like that is number 1 corner money.
Yeah.
But we're giving number 1 corner money to a guy who's never really been a number 1. That's the concern you have. There's a risk. But like I always say, when it comes to free agency, if there's no risk, they wouldn't be free agents. Their teams wouldn't let him go.
Yeah.
You're going to overpay in free agency, guys. That's a fact of life. Let me be very, 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 very clear to it. Like, you got to take the good and take the bad. You take the rest, and there you have the facts of life. The facts of life.
In the circle of life.
Oh, gosh. I went from TV show to you're doing a movie now.
It moves us all.
Exactly. So what are your thoughts, Rob, since I've had the chance to talk about him a little while we're waiting for you?
I think you pretty much said that. I think it's a good move. I think it's like we need to bring in secondary work here. We said it last week. We're going to overpay in free agents.
Mm-hmm.
And
no one gets a great deal in free agency. I want to make sure everybody understands that. No one goes, I got a discounted rate in free agency. That doesn't happen.
No, not at all. I mean, we can talk about other players around the league and talk about how much other teams overpaid for them, but this is a Giants podcast, so we don't need to do that right now. But overall, I think it's a good move because then it gives Banks a legit fight to be number one, and a fight that he's probably going to lose for a little bit, but he could
He'll
get
definitely
it over. But I mean, depending on how this guy's coachable, I don't know. I'm not in the locker room, but he might need that competition to raise to the competition he needs to be at.
Yeah, after what he did last year, I have no confidence whatsoever in Deontay Banks ever becoming a CB1. And it's not just how he played; it's the attitude and the issues that he had on the sidelines, those kind of things. Where I'm just like, but like I said,
I mean, the only defense you give that guy is he legit had some really tough talent to play.
oh, he got put in a crappy situation. You and I said that going into it. We
Yeah.
said it going into the season. That point blank, he's going through a gauntlet of top receivers. He is a guy that point blank is not ready to be a CB1, and he's being thrown into it at a year that he's going to have to go against pretty much every top receiver in the entire NFL. Like we said that right off the bat.
Yeah.
And I felt bad for the kid. I really did. That being said, I still don't like what happened.
No.
And we talked about guys like DJ Reed. We talked about Ward from San Francisco, guys who, by the way, have already signed elsewhere, to see you guys know as well. But I feel like we got a guy in this who fit the bill, but wasn't exactly one of the guys we listed as one of the top flight guys, because I kind of had him as a tier beneath those guys. And it's a lot of it, let's be frank, is because A, the injury, and B, because of the fact that he's never been a CB1.
Correct.
I just think the age was, I think, something the Giants really looked at, though. He's 25 years old. He's going to be 28 years old at the end of this. The other guys who we talked about that were like the top kind of guys.
Pushing 30.
Yeah, they were like 28, around there. So a 3-year difference when you're a corner is a big deal. He's just getting into the prime of his career. And if you're going to pay for somebody, maybe you pay for somebody who's in the upswing, not somebody that's going to start the downswing in a year or two. And I think that's what really happened here, is the Giants look at a young player that they can get their hands on. And, they just took the chance.
Listen, I'm pretty happy about it. Like, at the end of the day, we had some good signings. Like, I see that you, I guess, went over our resign, but yeah.
Yes. You missed that part.
Very easy.
But
yeah, I'm happy so far.
Yeah, like I said, I'm okay with this. And like I said, 25 years old, you're taking a risk in a guy that you're hoping is going to become a part of this team, not just for the next 2-3 years, but a guy who could be part of this team here for the next 5-6 years.
Yeah.
Depending on how things pan out. Yeah, and that's getting way ahead of ourselves, obviously, but I'm just saying, like
this is the potential of a guy that, yes, we probably paid more than we want to for him.
Yeah.
But this could be a guy that you restructure and resign.
Yeah. Yeah. And, again, this is one of those that you put him in there, you give the chance for Banks to go down to where he should be. And as Anthony says here, I think Banks will shine a CB2, which will build his confidence again, and could help him possibly get that CB1 roll back. Exactly what he's going to have to get built back up. As Mac, the Giants fans, is definitely agree about Banks, that kid's confidence took a big hit last year. I don't think people realize, though, how bad it was there. Stevens says just the one signing really changes the room, though. Adebo, Banks, Phillips, Flott, Hawkins is a solid room. And it's not a bad room at all, guys. And I'll give you one better. I still would not be shocked if the Giants don't get another corner, whether it's in free agency or the draft. I would not be shocked at all, because I feel like this is the way things went last year. I don't even know if I want to count on Banks as CB2. And if he's ruined, hypothetically, I'm going to put 50% of the blame on the Giants for what they did to him last year. I'm saying that right now. This is not all on him. This is at least half of it on the Giants. But he handled himself horrendously last year.
That's a fair assessment. Yeah.
Really. At this point, I feel like the Giants owe him nothing as far as starting jobs, just because of how he acted.
Yeah,
And that's me saying the Giants caused a good part of this, but still, the way he acted was immature, unprofessional, and should be not tolerated if you want to build the culture the Giants should want to build in this team. And I think they got a guy here that, by all accounts, talking to people that do cover the Saints and get to know this kid for a while there, that this is a guy you won't have that issue with. He's a hard hitter. He's aggressive. He goes after the ball. He does all the things that the Giants, quite frankly, have not done here the last couple of years in the cornerback room, except Drew Phillips. I'm going to give Drew Phillips the credit, because that kid came up and smacked some running backs around all season long. Didn't necessarily get the interceptions, but he smacked some running backs around.
Yeah, it's a very obvious statement, but like I think also needs to be addressed. Like, this year will determine Banks in the future.
Yep.
And how we go forward, because if he comes in and acts like he did last year, but he improves, what do? If he comes in next year, acts and plays like he did next year, you also know he's out.
Oh, yeah.
But if he comes in and takes the CB2 role and takes it, with humility, being humble about it, then you got a guy who wants to sign again.
Yep. As Sadu says, he's good. We need heart and swag in 2025.
Yeah.
I don't think we're getting any swag in 2025, that's for sure. But we're gonna hopefully get some players with some heart, because we gotta change. We gotta change the culture. Point blank. You gotta change the culture the way it's been. So, all right, let's get into our second signing here. And this one is a little harder to be excited about, but it's still a solid signing here, guys. The Giants signed Roy Robertson Harris, defensive lineman, veteran defensive lineman, a guy that's been around in the league for quite a while now. 6'5", 290 pounds, 31 years old, played in all 17 games last year, including 2 starts. Here's the key part. Played in all 17 games last season, guys.
Yeah, that's impressive.
Because I heard people talk about, we're tired of signing injured players. We signed one guy who had one injury last year. Like, I get it. Like, there's a reason why players are available. And sometimes it's because of an injury and people are afraid to sign him to big money. This is not that scenario. This is just a solid depth piece kind of guy. So, split time with the Jaguars and the Seahawks last year. 20 tackles overall in those 17 games. 4 tackles for loss, 2 sacks, 5 QB hits, and 1 pass deflected. Played in 34% of the defensive snaps overall last season. Now, the split, just so you guys know, 6 games with the Jaguars, he played in 50% of their snaps. 11 games with the Seahawks, he played in about 25% of their snaps. So we definitely saw a dip in his play time when he went over to Seattle. But again, this is a depth piece, guys. If you're telling me 2 teams last year saw the need to put him on 25 to 50% of their snaps, then I got a guy that I think is a legit depth piece, because he's shown that with 2 different teams last year he could be that. 52.8 PFF grade overall, 54.6 against the pass, 56.6 against the run, so kind of solid 50-50 between the two. 8-year vet, played mostly with the Bears and the Jaguars, 117 career games, 62 career starts. So he's got starting experience if need be. 2-year veteran, 2-year contract, $10 million is what they're reporting overall for him. So that's $5 million a year, guys. And that's what you pay for a decent veteran backup defensive lineman. That's what this seems to be. It's just a solid, simple signing there. He's going to be a solid veteran addition to the bench, or potentially a low-end starter if needed, because of having trouble filling out the rest of this defensive line that's kind of a cluster besides Dexter Lawrence, or injuries happen, which the Giants, we typically have injuries. So what do you think about the move, Rob?
I think the availability is very worthwhile. I know you were excited about it when you sent it to me earlier in the day.
Oh, I was excited all day long. This is like Christmas to me. I swear. It's like, ooh.
Yeah.
All these signings. I literally have one on my screen here. If you guys have seen me move up, I have on my screen here the Pro Football Rumors Giants.com page, which by the way is a very good page. And no, I just want to give them credit because they're like, you can see everything that happens in the NFL in that one page. It may not be the quickest to give it to you, but it's the most inclusive of everything. So just trying to make sure nothing else happens while we're live, because you never know. It's been that kind of day. When I started doing the notes for the show, even Darius Slayton wasn't re-signed.
I was about to say it changed so much.
Yeah. So
it continues to change.
Which, by the way, we just signed somebody. We'll talk about him in a minute.
I was going to say.
This is why you got to keep an eye on. Anyway, your thoughts.
No, I once again, I've been pretty happy. I think it's a good move. I think it's nice depth into this line. Like, I think with a team that can't stay healthy, a guy that can stay healthy and it's proven it and track record of it. Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
I'll take it, especially for the price.
Yeah, like I said, it's not a bad deal. It really isn't overall. It's something that I think is, again, I said this before when I said about Slayton, and I say it again. Not every team has to, and every signing for a team has to be a slam dunk. Not every one of them has to be. They can't be.
No.
But they can be just solid pickups. And that's what I feel like this is. This is a solid pickup, guys, that we can't really complain about. I'm sure people will. I'm sure. But, it's just the Giants way as far as Giants fans. But, that's just what happens here. So, again, a move that I think is a solid line pickup. And I'm hoping that we have more pickups coming to that defensive line there, because we need a lot of help there, guys. Yeah. Point blank, we need a lot of help. And I'm not wanting to see the defensive line nearly as bad as it was. That was a strength of ours for how many years?
Oh,
back when we had strengths. Back in the good old days, we had strengths.
And Super Bowl rings.
Yeah, well, we still have Super Bowl rings. They're just getting a little rusty now.
Yeah.
Womp. All righty, guys. Here's a segment we weren't even planning on talking about, but we got to talk about now because the Giants just signed a player, guys. Point blank. Giants just signed linebacker Chris Board, formerly of the Baltimore Ravens, 29 years old. He's been a special teamer for most of his 7 years in the NFL, though he has played. He did play 168 snaps on defense for the Ravens just last year. He's 6'2", 240 pounds, and like I said, he's going to be a special teamer that may get some time on the on the defense there. So 2,510 special team snaps over the past 7 years, and 1,008 on defense. So again, this is going to be a special teamer guy, but this is a good signing. This is another guy that's again solid depth piece, solid guy overall. And by the way, he was a special team captain with the Ravens last year.
Yeah.
So this is a guy that legitimately was a solid piece of one of the better teams in the NFL last year. So, can't be upset with that overall. So he has been, prior to this past year with the Ravens, he played the year before with the Patriots, year before with the Lions, and then spent another 4 years prior to that with the Ravens. So he spent 5 of his 7 years with the Ravens, which, guys, solid NFL franchise overall.
Yeah.
So
I mean, his first season with the Ravens had 12 special team tackles. So.
Yeah. That's what was his bread and butter right from the get-go.
Yeah,
absolutely from the very get-go. So yeah, I'll take this signing any day of the week. Again, is it something flashy? Is it something we got to go, ooh, you know what I mean? Like, no, that's not it at all. So, no. But it's a solid move. And sometimes solid moves are all it takes sometimes to, go ahead and, create a roster. You get a couple of bigger name guys, you make some solid pieces to go along with them at that point, and next thing you know, you got a roster. So
solid moves to keep you regular.
Exactly. So we're going to go ahead and pay the bills real quick. The Giants just signed another player.
I was going to say that as well.
Yeah. So let's pay the bills real quick while we get some of the information here up for that for you guys here, because yeah, that I told you that. This is why I had this up here, because you just never ever know what's going to happen here, guys. So give me a second. Let's pay the bills, and we'll be right back talking about our newest offensive lineman here for the New York Football Giants.
Enjoying the show? Looking for more goofball action? Consider a membership at buymeacoffee.com/2giantgoofballs. Memberships start at just $5 and give you additional goofball access. One-time support payments also available starting at just $3. buymeacoffee.com/2giantgoofballs.
All righty, guys. So here we go. We're getting everything up right now. We speak about James Hudson the third officially signing on with the Giants. Well, I feel like there should be an Esquire there. I really do. So he was a tackle last year for the Browns. I shouldn't have just last year. The last 4 years with the Browns overall, 49 games overall, 17 starts. Was originally a player out of fourth round from Cincinnati. Played in Michigan as well a couple of years before that. I'm just pulling up all his grades right now. Not very good grades. I'll say this as an instant reaction. Oh gosh. 50.4 PFF grade overall, 40.2 pass blocking, 57.7 run blocking. Yeah, that's a little scary.
Yeah,
that's not looking good overall, guys. That's definitely not there. Here's the big thing though with him. It is, first off, it's a decent contract, which kind of shocks me a little bit there for what he did last year. 2 years, they're saying, for where'd it go here? I had it here a minute ago. I had 2 year. There we go. 2 year, $12 million with additional $4 million in incentives. So they're basically giving a guy decent money here, like starter kind of money, almost like low end starter kind of money. Keep in mind, Greg Van Roten was a veteran minimum last year, guys. But I think the big thing with this is that they're looking at this guy, I think, as a legitimate swing tackle. They're looking at this guy because he's played both sides of the offensive line. They're looking like they think this is a guy they think that can go ahead and start either side and be a guy that you're not pulling guys off the couch. I'm having trouble, honestly, guys, with this one. I feel like I've been positive most of today, too. Like, we're overpaying for a corner. Okay, I'm cool with that. We got a backup defensive tackle. Not that exciting, but a solid pickup. I'm cool with that. You know, we get a special team linebacker. Okay, again, not a big deal, but I'm cool with it. But now you get a guy who,
I mean, his biggest claim to fame is his rookie year, if you will. As a rookie, he played 12 games with 4 starts at right tackle. Hudson helped the Cleveland lead the NFL with 5.09 yards per carry, the highest average in Browns team history since 1966.
Yeah,
offensive line opened up for Nick Chubb very well, and was the second highest scorer in the league in rushing that year. So, and that's off the Giants. I got to give that little props.
So Jared Mueller of SB Nation's Dogs by Nature, which is their Browns page similar to our Big Blue View, called him inconsistent. That's not a term I like to hear about a guy that, let's be honest, with our injury history may have to start. Now, I'll say this, though, is he an improvement over Azudu? He's an actual tackle. Keep in mind, Azudu was drafted to be a guard, guys. Was never meant to be a tackle. So I guess the one thing I can say about that is I do like the fact that if we keep him, move Azudu to guard, where he should have been all along, it gives us the chance to move somebody to the proper position. Like I said, I just having a little trouble with this one here. I really am. I don't think it's the best pickup, especially because it's day one. Don't tell me you couldn't have got a guy this caliber in day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5, day 27 and a half because he's just not that good. It seems like a rush move. He's played 100. Was that hit the panic button?
Yeah.
1,130 13 snaps at right tackle, 278 at left tackle. So he, like I said, does have experience both sides there. Not a big fan. Definitely not a big fan there. So, yeah. Maybe we get somebody the draft ticket spot. I just feel like that's where we're at here at this point there. But this is what this is. This is just an insurance move. It's $6 million, but let's be honest, guys. I know it sounds like a lot of money to the rest of us, but it's not really that much money overall. It's just, like I said, I think what gets me more than the money is the haste of which we're like, ooh, we must get this guy.
Yeah.
He would have been available, guys, in a couple of days, and if he wasn't, somebody else just as good as him would be. In fact, where I'm on the Big Blue View page right now to look at their notes on him, I'm drafting an F. They have an A, B, C, D, F for this. I don't know why everybody skips E, but I'm giving it the F myself here on their page, and I'm 1 of 5%. Most people had it as a C, 42%, but I can't call this a great move, guys. It's a move you didn't have to make today.
No.
Some of the best moves in free agency are made down the line, not day one. Day one is typically your worst moves, unless you're getting a stud or something like that. If you're getting a solid
You could have got this guy cheaper
player,
in day 3.
But like I said, I'm trying not to overthink it. It's a backup tackle. I just don't like the fact that we're getting another guy who's got bad numbers as they're being called inconsistent by guys who've literally covered him. And we just gave him $12 million.
Yeah.
Seems like a rush move, but maybe it's just one of many moves. Who knows? At the very least, hopefully he'll be a healthy tackle. Dispel our unhealthy tackles. It's just I'm at the point where I just feel like Andrew Thomas is going to go down every year. Like, I hate to say that.
Yeah.
I want to be more positive. I'm a huge Andrew Thomas fan. This offensive line is hands down so much better with Andrew Thomas in this lineup. It's not even funny. Look what happened when he went down last year.
Oh yeah, we went from like playing average to below average again.
Yeah, but you're gonna go from a guy who's like top, like like upper 70s, lower 80s PFF grade, and that's an average. It's not even like one of the better years, to a guy who's 50. I just don't think. To me, you could have got a guy that good off the streets later on, if you need to. Much we're talking about not getting guys off the streets. You could have got a guy like that off the streets later on. So I don't know. Yeah. I don't know if I get it there on that one. But 25 years old, so he is still young. Maybe we're just hoping on Carmen Brasil to work a little magic on him. 6'5", 313 pounds overall. Let's see what you guys got there. Money Mike said, I really wish we would have fired Joe Shane, man. Shake my head.
Yeah.
Anthony says, no name, you're getting great offensive lineman in free agency. Often definitely better than Zudo. I think with Brasil, he'll be decent. We probably would have paid $6 million on bumps off the couch after injuries this year anyway. Yeah, like I said, I'm admitting I'm probably I said it's the day one part I think I'm having trouble with. Like, that tells me you like the clock hit and you're like, ooh, I got to call James Hudson.
Yeah, you didn't think you could get anyone else.
Yeah.
Or they just didn't want to pay anyone else.
Yeah, as Mac the Giants fans, this sounds like another Joshua Zudu. Let's hope not. Oh God, yeah. I just as No Name says, great signing. Shane gets us a guy that's not even a good offensive lineman, and yeah, I think we need great offensive line, not bad ones. Yeah, that's definitely where it's at there. Let's see here. Let me go ahead and update this here. See if we got anything else here. Before we go into the rest of the news here today, I'm not seeing anything so far, which at this point is like a good news for the Giants. Don't do anything else crazy, you Giants. Oh,
Goofballs.
Gosh. Yeah, they're apparently taking the goofball part from us right now. That's for damn sure.
It's a trademark name, guys.
We probably should trademark it at this point.
You're right.
Oh my gosh. All right, so let's get into the rest of the news we had planned here. Now the Giants are going, little off script on us there, making us do segments on the fly here, because we got to talk about what was probably the biggest news in the NFL, at least today. And that's the day one QB moves in the NFL free agency. Because, guys, there's moves left and right and the center and everything except for the Giants, but everybody else seems to be making moves, no problem. Here's the quick rundown. Dolphins signed Zach Wilson. Patriots signed Josh Dobbs. Browns traded for Kenny Pickett from the Eagles, who got Darian Thomas Robinson in a fifth in return. Jets signed Justin Fields, which that was the big one a lot of Giants fans wanted. That's 2 years, $40 million, $30 million guaranteed. To be honest, overpay. And
I actually think it's a good move for them at the end of the day. Like, yes, you overpaid, but that's what you do in free agency. We already talked about this. But
yeah, but $20 million again, and I say this point blank, being a guy who wanted Justin Fields to be a Giant. Let me be very clear on that. This is not me backtracking off that. I'm admitting that freely. But I thought you'd get him for like $10-15 million. I didn't think anybody would pay for a guy that looked really bad in Chicago to go ahead and be a $20 million guy. And what I'm hearing, like guaranteeing and handing him the
50.
starting job.
Yes.
After doing a couple of good games in Pittsburgh. When I say a couple of games, by the way, he was averaging 160 yards passing or something like that per game. You sound like you have the stats in front of you, Rob. Where's the yard?
I don't have the stats from me. I was just saying that he was 4-2 with them, and you said it. He played like Russell. We've talked about him a few times. I'm just saying you got to. What's he? 25? He'll be 26 next year in midseason. Like you're talking about a guy that's mobile has not had a good offensive line, so he knows how to get mobile around. You pair him back up with his old college mate.
So right? I have to look at starting, but 110.6 yards per game, but that's because 4 of them were off the bench.
Yeah.
But yeah. This sometimes, listen, I hate to say it because I feel like I've got the point where I can't talk trash about other teams anymore. But sometimes the Jets are just the Jets for a reason. So here's his yardage per game: 156, 117, 214, 312. By the way, that's against the Colts, who gave 5 touchdowns to Drew Lock. That just tells you all you need to know there. 131, 145. And again, I said it. He played much better, and I'm not backtracking on that. He played much better, and I would have loved to see him as on the Giants. But to hand the guy the reins to a franchise and give him a $40 million deal, that just seems a little crazy, absolutely crazy.
Well, it's Jets for you, and they also freed up a whole bunch of money from Aaron Rodgers.
They did. Well, they will on Wednesday. We'll get to that in a little bit here. Jaguars signed Nick Mullins, formerly of the Vikings there. Rams re-signed Jimmy Garoppolo. Sam Darnold to the Seahawks in the move that pretty much since the Geno Smith move got announced was pretty much talked about as a foregone conclusion. So Sam Darnold basically got the same exact contract, a 3-year, $100.5 million contract. It was a 0.5, so just over 100. That basically the same contract that what I'm hearing they offered Geno Smith. They offered to Geno Smith. Geno Smith wanted like 40s. They trade him, get a 3rd round pick, and they still get a quarterback for the same exact amount there. It's Sam Darnold. It's an interesting move, and I got to say, if I am the Seahawks, I'd be very happy with this move because you got a guy who
a lot younger
fit the bill exactly, and is a lot younger than Geno Smith is. Let's be honest. Geno Smith, you've already had enough years. You're not winning jack with Geno Smith, especially at 35. I think he is, or something like that. You got a guy that's a good number of years they're younger. So the big news now is who's left because the Giants still need a quarterback, guys. All these signings we're making here, no one's talked about yet. The Giants and who they're signing. Well, Aaron Rodgers is the big one. From what I'm hearing here, he's probably going to be a Steeler, guys. Like, there's rumors that it could be a deal done tomorrow. It can't be official till he gets released by the Jets, which won't be till Wednesday for salary cap reasons. But that's the rumors. The Giants are said to be literally waiting on Aaron Rodgers before making any move. That's what I'm hearing on NFL Insiders today. Is that the Giants they think that it's a big thing to give Aaron Rodgers the respect to let him have the time to make this decision? No.
Yeah, well, he's had a terrible stint in New York thus far.
Yeah.
Yeah, granted, he did get injured, but
But
this
isn't
point, you're
kissing his
41.
butt what got the Jets in trouble?
Yeah, that's what I say. Especially when you're 41 years old, you've been in the NFL. Yes, you are 15 years in the NFL, whatever it is. You've won multiple MVPs. You've been to the Super Bowl multiple times. Like, yeah, we get it, but what have you done for me lately?
Yeah.
It's just nails.
And I'm telling you right now, if he goes to the Pittsburgh Steelers, could you imagine him and George Pickens together? Oh my God. Fireworks left and right with the attitude and dramas. Like we drama llama left and right there with that situation. But I just don't like the fact that the Giants are really waiting on him. Now, the other guys that we've talked about, ad nauseum here this offseason, Jameis Winston is said to be talking currently to the Niners and the Chargers. Nothing imminent that I'm hearing, but again, that's the guy I know a lot of Giants fans were interested in because for the pure entertainment factor. Let's be honest.
I was all about it last year.
We said it multiple times last year. Yeah. Russell Wilson said to be negotiating with the Titans, who the Titans are apparently very big on getting him as their bridge quarterback, potentially starter for the year, depending on what they do in the draft. Now, a rumored return to the Steelers is not out of question either, depending on what happens with Aaron Rodgers, though, too, for him. And then we, of course, have Kirk Cousins, which is even more of a saga because the Falcons would have to release him or trade him for that to go. And considering where that contract is, it's going to be a release probably. I'm kind of shocked he hasn't been done the service of releasing him yet. I feel like this is one of those moves that if you're the Falcons, you do it for PR purposes.
Yeah.
Because Kirk Cousins, say what you want about him, he's thought of well amongst players.
The league and fans, yeah.
I'm saying overall players even. They have a lot of respect for him for what he's done. He went from being a 4th-round pick to a 6-figure earner or 9-figure earner, I should say, in the NFL, and a guy that people that were teammates of him will stick up for him left and right. So, to me, just cut the man loose. And I'm not even saying it because I want him as a Giant, because I really, be honest, I don't necessarily want him. I guess there's worse options we could have, like, see everybody we've had the last 6 years. But, like, that's just where we're at this point, is that if he gets cut, he very well could be, because he's going to want to be a starter. And if you look at the starting jobs left right now, there's really 3 starting jobs left. I keep hearing people say 2, but there's 3. The Steelers and the Giants, when everybody's talking about, but the Titans, like we mentioned with Russell Wilson. That's the 3rd one that's really sitting there. I don't know who I want even at this point.
Yeah.
Like Aaron Rodgers is the best quarterback in this list. Let's be very clear about that.
Yes.
But he comes with the baggage. He comes with the fact that
I'm more concerned about his age than anything else. Listen, we talk about it, like the baggage, like you could check that at the door because he's got an ego. He might come in here, just leave all that to the side and try to go out on a high horse. That is what it is. His age and his stint as a Jet, like he just hasn't played that good. And yes, when you went through the stats, it was like 3,500 yards, 3,700 yards, but a lot of it was in garbage time.
Yeah.
So, like, I'm just not that impressed. Like, the eye test, he just didn't look that good.
And I feel like you got the personality issue. We talked about that, plenty with him as well. Honestly, I feel like the guy that I want is a guy we've talked about before in the show. We talked about him just now a minute ago, even. I think Jameis Winston is the guy I want. Like, I feel like he would be the good teammate to whoever we draft. I feel like he would be the guy who would be a leader in that locker room.
He's a reverend, didn't you know? since he was to Cleveland.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. His personality came out in Cleveland. I never remember seeing that for the Saints or the Buccaneers or anything like that. But I just feel like he's that guy. Now, Russell Wilson, he's probably my number 2. for the same reason. I don't think he'd be a bad teammate overall. I think his experience gives him a lot to teach. But again, these guys are all negotiating with other people, and we're just waiting on Aaron Rodgers according to reports, as if Aaron Rodgers deserves that kind of treatment. I'm sorry, he just doesn't. I don't know. Yeah. We got to go ahead and get somebody. Let's see what you guys think here. We got No Names' typical Browns move. They take Kenny Pickett. He hasn't done jack squats since he's been here. Even as Eagles QB, he wasn't even good. Well, he was a backup for them, so he didn't get that much time. But yeah. And from everything I'm hearing, the Browns aren't necessarily done at the quarterback position. I've heard of that as well, that they're going to go ahead and make some moves in general.
Yeah.
But I think it's more of a matter of in their mind, they're upgrading and all they're giving up is a 5th-round pick to do it. On the Eagles' standpoint, they're giving a guy a chance to start that wouldn't have a chance to start where they're at. I hate to say it. Dare I say it's a classy move by the Eagles? It is.
Yeah.
Sad when the Eagles are making classy moves. The Giants are just sitting there floating around. That's where we're at. That's where we're at. Mac, the Giants fan, said Darnold had a great year and he still didn't even get what Jones got a couple years ago. Yes, because I think the problem with it is Jones ended on a high note. If Jones didn't win that playoff game, or the Giants really, because again, team effort. But if the Giants didn't win that playoff game, do you think that Daniel Jones gets that big contract?
It's hard to say because, he still would have got something, maybe not as big, but he still would have got paid. They would have brought him back because you went from a team that couldn't have a winning record for the life of his whole career. Couldn't stay healthy. He stayed healthy and got us to the playoffs. So if he sat there and got us to the playoffs, he would have got paid. Would it have been $40 million?
That's what I'm getting at.
Yeah, it could have been 35.
Yeah. He would have gotten a much lower contract.
I don't know if he would say much lower, but if you sit there and say 35, because that's what he fought for, that's what we thought we should have paid him. And instead we were 40, was $5 million in the NFL.
Well, yeah, but
when you talk about the quarterback, you pay him that, and I don't know.
I think he's also the cautionary tale. People say now, don't pay running backs because of guys that got paid that just didn't pan out. Well, now it's don't pay mid-tier quarterbacks because of Daniel Jones. I feel like he's that guy now,
But, Darnold, it's pretty much got the same.
But he didn't. He got $33 million years later. That's 2 years later. Usually prices go up. So $40 million would be 43, 44, 45, around there, $1 million now. Yeah. And he got 33. It's a big difference. But yeah, I think people just realize too, he ended the season on a bad note. His last game against the Lions looked bad. The playoff game, he looked bad. And I think that killed his stock, whereas Daniel Jones, again, he ended the season on the high note. He became more of a passer as the season went on. He beat the Vikings at that point, and people thought good of him because of that. Sometimes the best thing you can do when you're a free agent is not play or play well.
Yeah, just not going to a combine.
But I'm saying, look at Justin Fields, for example. Didn't play. People think people want to pay him $40 million now. He ain't worth it.
Yeah.
But he got it because because the hindsight is there. You know what I mean? That's where it's at. No Name says that's all Darnold got, and the Giants should have went and got them. That's cheap. I don't like Darnold.
Yeah.
We wouldn't have.
It would have been Jones 2.0.
We didn't have Justin Jefferson. We don't have Jordan Addison. We don't have Hawkinson. We don't have the offensive line they have. We don't have KOC calling plays. I'm sorry. We don't have everything he had that helped him succeed. And it's not to fully take it away from him. He did obviously work. But there's plenty of things that he wouldn't have with us that he had with Seattle. That he did have with Minnesota. Seattle, by the way, doesn't have that stuff either.
I was going to say, Seattle's going on a whole fire sale too. So
they're cutting everybody left and right. It's crazy, but somehow they'll figure it out because the Seahawks tend to do that.
Yeah,
they do. Crank 0508 says thoughts on trading for Joe Milton from Pats. Looked great when he had the opportunity. He looked great for half a game against the Bills. With that, didn't even care about how the game went. I feel like.
Yeah.
I don't know. You want to trade for Joe Milton, give up a late round pick for him, whatever. I'm not gonna, get mad over something like that. But I'm not gonna get excited over him either.
Yeah.
Yeah. No Name says call Daniel Jones. Never should have got the big contract. They should have said, "Hey, we're going to give you 3 years, this amount of money, take it or leave it," and he would have took it. And they were idiots. I don't know. Hindsight's 2020, guys.
Listen, the Raiders would have paid him at that point.
Honestly,
he would have got paid.
I could look back at it now and saying the right move was not to pay him, was to pay Saquon Barkley and to tag him. Again, hindsight's 2020.
So that's hindsight.
Exactly. At the time,
it was the right move at the time.
And I know a lot of people talk about it now. Like, I was never. No, people were okay with it then.
A lot of people were okay.
They thought it was a lot of money. They didn't like necessarily the amount he got, but they're okay with how it worked out. So
yeah.
All right, guys. We got one last segment to go over with you guys, and to be honest, this one's a little touchy here.
Oily.
This one's well lubed. This one can. We got to be very cautious in talking about this one. We'll get in trouble with the streaming sites here.
Allegedly.
OBJ added in one of the P. Diddy lawsuits, guys. That's not the news I thought we were talking today on the first day of free agency. So, but yeah, former Giants wide receiver Odell Beckham Jr., thought by many to be the best wide receiver ever to play for the Giants, though I still say second best, was added to the lawsuit. In the lawsuit, which was originally filed back in October, there was an accuser, Ashley Parnham, who accused Sean P. Diddy Combs of sexual assault and battery, abuse, false imprisonment, and kidnapping. There's now an amendment to that lawsuit, which now lists Beckham along with comedian Drewski. I never heard of this comedian before. Blogger Jaguar Wright, again, never heard of. P. Diddy's mother, Janice Combs, and 8 others as co-defendants as well. Supposedly this event took place in March 23rd, back in 2018, in Orinda, which is just outside of Oakland. And the accuser claims that Beckham was one of the men who took turns assaulting her during the incident. Now, I'm not going to go into all the details. I've seen more details than what I'm reading off to you guys here.
Yeah, we'd have to go down that.
Yeah, the details are very adult, and the details are extremely disturbing, to say the least. Like, things that are absolutely horrific and disgusting. And, I don't know, guys. I really don't. Beckham is one of those guys that I feel like Giants fans always have that ability to kind of look the other way and go, because they just like the way he played. And there's always been these issues with him. There's been the issues of, him talking trash about Eli when he was here, him starting fights when he was here, him losing a fight to a kicking net when he was here, him with his incident with him in a picture with some model like Ray was getting re-signed to, and they were saying there might have been some drugs in the background or something. If I remember correctly on that, I want to say that's definitely the case, but I want to say there was something with that as well. He everywhere he's gone, there's been all kinds of drama. He had the plane incident a couple of years ago. Like, I don't want to talk about people I don't know in negative ways. I really don't. I don't know Odell Beckham Jr. personally. But there's a lot of flags for me that go, maybe this isn't the nicest guy in the world.
Yeah. I mean, especially if you're in that situation, it's like, not only do your actions kind of show who you are, but the people you're around and their actions kind of show who you are.
Yep. Now, I do want to clarify, though, because I said doesn't seem like the nicest guy in the world. There's a big difference between being not the nicest guy in the world and doing what he's accused of doing at that point.
Yeah.
There's plenty of jerks I know who will draw the line way different from where this is.
Yeah, and he came out on X and pretty much said it's all lies. So.
100%. 100%. He said, I have been informed of the allegations about me in a lawsuit in California. I really can't believe that my name is mentioned in that matter. There is absolutely no truth to these allegations. I do not know and have never met the person that filed the suit. I was nowhere near Orinda, California at that time. In fact, I don't think I've ever been to Orinda, California. I have never done anything like that, and I would never do anything like that to anyone. I'm confident these ridiculous claims against me will be dismissed. Now, I don't even know where to take this, to be honest with you guys. Like, this kind of topic is just like, there's no good outcome of this. Let's be honest. There's no good outcome.
Yeah.
Either one of two scenarios is going on. Either this happened to this woman, and this is absolutely horrendous, or there's false allegations going around, which are also absolutely horrendous. Because let's say for a guy like Odell Beckham Jr., who played, decent amount of time in 23, didn't really get to see the field much in 24, kind of at the tail end of his career. Like, if you're a football team, are you picking him up with these allegations out there right now?
Probably
No
not.
way in hell. No way in hell.
Especially the Raiders.
Especially for a guy that, like, is like a guy that's the tail end of your roster, like, at this point in his career. Like, he's not a guy you're counting on for anything but to be a depth piece. That's where he's at. And you don't want depth pieces that are headaches.
No.
This is a headache. This is a circus. And don't get me wrong, Beckham has done his own circus wherever he goes, always has been. It's just how he is. This is a circus you want no part of. And if the allegations are not true, because I don't want to assume they are. Like I said, I don't think he's the nicest guy in the world per se, but that's a whole other level to make accusations like that. And I would never accuse anybody of this kind of behavior because that's just absolutely horrendous.
Yeah. It's
but
pretty heinous to go that way.
If they're not true, then this person just basically ruined Odell Beckham's chances of getting 1 or 2 more years left in the NFL. Because I don't think there's a team in hell that's going to sign him.
Because, and also, like, just so to say, like, he doesn't play this year, and it comes to prove that those allegations are false, and he's eligible to play next year. What teams are really going to want to pay him next year? Like, there's not much. I mean, he might get a contract, league minimum, but like when you get signed for a couple mil this year, which means you get signed for another couple mil next year, it's a big difference from league minimum.
Yeah, and listen, if it is true, I hope he never sees the field again.
Yeah,
he should be in jail for years because, like I said, the allegations are absolutely horrendous. But I never want to assume either side of this because, A, I wasn't there, and B, I don't want to ever flat out accuse somebody of that because that's a horrendous allegation to make to somebody, point blank. So what I will just hope in this scenario is whatever is the truthful outcome is what comes out. Meaning if he's innocent and he wasn't a part of it, that he gets,
his
exonerated, gets, hopefully a little compensation for being accused of such a thing if he didn't do it. And if he did do it, I hope he rots in jail. Point blank.
Yeah.
There's no in between there. It's one of those two scenarios. So, and there's so many allegations out there with Diddy, obviously, in his time and everything that he did, allegedly, that, you just don't know what to believe because there's allegations out there like crazy. And there's still plenty of people out there that you hear rumors about going to these things and causing issues and doing all kinds of stuff they shouldn't do that have not come to light yet. And there's plenty of big name celebrities too in that. I don't want to start naming names because we'll get a lawsuit probably against us, but y'all heard it. Just Google it. You'll find out. You'll find out. So,
wait,
but
was Joe Shane at one of those parties?
With a peanut butter jelly in the corner. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
I don't want to make jokes about even like that, but it's like I can't help myself to a certain degree. But I just, like I said, it's a horrendous situation, guys. That's just where it's at there. Absolutely horrendous situation. All right. Before we get going, I do want to make sure we don't have anything else going on here because, again, this is what keeps on happening here. You get all kinds of fun stuff there. Let's see here. So far, not seeing anything else here, so I think we are good. With no more big stuff coming in. Okay, we got to check one more site to make sure we're good, guys. One more. Let's see here. Yeah, no, I mean, the only thing I'm seeing more and more, guys, is that Aaron Rodgers is likely going to be a Steeler. So, we'll see what happens there. A lot can change. There's plenty of people that have been close to it and didn't quite go there. Let's see here, but it's like I said, I think that's where we're at there. So, all right, guys, we'll be back again for you guys. I don't know when, to be very frank with you guys right now. This is that week that every year when we do this show, we have to kind of say, listen, we're going to play it week by week, day by day, and see where things are at. Because
step by step.
Yeah, day by day. Oh yes, I went there, Patrick Duffy, Susie and Summer style.
Oh yeah.
But things are changing on a daily basis here sometimes. So if the Giants make any signings tomorrow, we'll probably be back to go ahead and give you guys something there. If we don't have anything tomorrow, we'll see you guys. It's during the week there. We'll do our usual Wednesday show. I may not be on our Wednesday, Thursday shows there. I have to travel due to a family thing. So worst comes to worst, you get a few full-on Rob show, which is, listen, that's how he makes up. That's how Rob makes up for his lack of airtime because of my excessive talking
and traffic.
Yes. So again, guys, we appreciate you guys for coming on here, watching and listening to the show there. We do want to give a shout out also to Jay, who I didn't see in the comments section. I don't know if Jay's watching, listening, whatever the case may be there. But Jay went on to this weekend here onto the buymeacoffee.com/2giantgoofballs and bought us 5 beers there. So definitely wanted to give him a shout out there and say thank you very much for that.
Cheers.
Pretty much always in the show too. The one time we do a show like that, I want to thank him like that instead of him ridiculing us like he always does opposite. We're good, Jay. We know we were big fans of Jay being on. But the one time we don't have him on at the time, we're giving a shout out and say thank you to him. But like I said, you guys always appreciate your support of the show overall. Again, you can always support us also by going to that buymeacoffee.com/2giantgoofballs, or you can do super chats on YouTube. You can do, stars on Facebook, or the freeway. Hit the share, hit the like, hit the subscribe, hit the bell. And right now, the big time to hit the bell, guys. 'Cause I'm telling you, as stuff comes out, we're going to be sporadically on here with a little more different weekly schedule than usual this week because of this kind of stuff there. So appreciate you guys for watching. As always, we are live on YouTube, Facebook, X/Twitter, whatever the hell you want to call it, Twitch, and of course, Rob's favorite, my LinkedIn profile. And of course, as always, we're available the next day on all the audio podcast platforms as well. That is Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Pandora, all the big ones there, guys. So if you haven't already, do me a favor again, hit that like, hit the subscribe, hit the share button, tell a friend. Point blank, we suck at marketing. If it wasn't for y'all, we would be lost, basically. So I appreciate you guys for watching us. We have a few hundred people here listening in to hear us right now live. And again, appreciate y'all. And if you haven't already, hit that like, hit that subscribe. The best place really is YouTube because we have the live shows. We also have the segments of the shows as well up there as well. So appreciate you guys for watching as always. And as always, Giant fans, go G-Man! Go G-Man! Even the newest G-Men.
Thanks for listening to Two Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. We appreciate your support.
Thanks so much.
Please,